Welcome to Touching the Edge, my friend. Welcome to Touching the Edge. My name is Drake. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you for being part of this current series, Finding What Was Never Lost, and recognizing that that is really what we have an urge to find. We're looking to find ourselves. You know, it's kind of interesting when someone describes losing themselves. You know, they just don't know who they are. They feel like they've lost contact with their essential self. But I want to suggest to you that you can never lose contact with your essential self. You can only misplace it. It doesn't mean that it's lost. You just don't really know how to access it. And for me, one of the ways that we want to recognize that we actually access and introduce ourselves to ourselves is through the state that we describe as crisis. You know, crisis originally just meant change. It meant when divergence, when you come to a path in the road and you go either one way or the other. That was crisis. It just meant change. And so we don't like change. Human beings want to stay the same. Even though we may not like what we're at, we may not like the situation we're in, there's something about leaving it that we find reprehensible. We can't really connect with it. But what I want to suggest to you is crisis is really an opportunity. The opportunity of crisis is that crisis always has the opportunity of introducing you to yourself. Crisis is the process in which you find yourself. We want to recognize when you think of anyone that you've ever really been inspired by, what's happened is that in the state of crisis, you were inspired by who they found themselves to be. We want to recognize that this is not a curse. This is a blessing for us to find ourselves, for us to find our strength. You know, we've talked recently about the civil rights movement, and I want to say to you that the crisis of the civil rights movement is what manifested people like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. Any movement that you describe, any movement that you can find a sense of resonance with, whatever movement that you personally subscribe to, if you look back in the history of that community, whether it be women's rights, gay rights, or whatever it might be, they're going to be leading figures who stood up during those times and showed something noble within themselves because of what they were facing. The challenge they were facing, the crisis that they were facing is what introduced them to themselves. And so I want to encourage you to realize that in this time, that is the opportunity. We're either going to become more ourselves or less ourselves. We're going to either become reactive to what's going on, which means that our environment forms our reality. Or we're going to be responsive to our mission and how our mission applies to the challenge. So I want to encourage you to recognize that this time is your opportunity. This is a time that you were born for. Say yes to it. Don't see yourself as separate from your life. See your life in a unitive fashion, recognizing that when you say yes to your life, you're saying yes to the challenge, and you're saying yes to becoming who you were meant to be. So thank you so much for joining. Please be part of these healing circles. How has crisis introduced you to yourself? Please comment, let other people know about this circle, and let's start a conversation. I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to ask you to listen carefully. This is your life. If you welcome it wholly and completely, it will welcome you. Thank you so much for joining, and have a wonderful day.